Hello, ARRL members and QST readers worldwide. I'm Dave Kassler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, and I write the Ask Dave column for QST. This is a supplemental video for the July 2024 issue. In this video, we're going to take a little bit closer look at a piece of software that I talked about in the article called Nano VNA Saver. What it really is it takes everything about the Nano VNA and puts it on your computer screen, and you don't have to do anything on the VNA itself. It's all done on the computer screen. So let's take a look. First of all, we'll introduce the Nano VNA, talk about where you can get this software, talk about how to use it, and show you an example or two. So let's dive in. This is the Nano VNA. It's been a revolutionary little device. Normally, vector network analyzers are quite expensive, and this is a little tiny sort of a pocket thing, and available for less than $100. It has kind of revolutionized a lot of things in ham radio. Let's take a look at it. First of all, there is a place where you should buy it. You can get it almost anywhere, but you're not quite sure what you're getting. The official place to buy it is R&L Electronics, and that's www.rnl.com, or you can just look up R&L Electronics on Google, and it'll take you right here. This is the page for it, the Nano VNA. This is the smaller one, $60, that's all, plus shipping and taxes. Now you may ask, why should I get it from R&L? The reason is because they work with the people who came up with the device originally, and you'll be sure to get a good one when you go here. Like I said, the one I got was from Walmart. I ordered it online, but it does work fine. This is what it looks like. It's a very tiny thing. The battery here is just a single cell of a lithium battery. This is the side of it. Note on the right, that black thing is the selection knob. You'll see that again in a minute. This is the business end of it here. This is channel 0, channel 1. Now note the difference here. There are 4 scatter parameters used in amateur radio. This is the first one. S11 happens to be SWR. S21 happens to measure the amplification. It'll put a signal out here and put a signal in here. So it's a little different. Right here, we're using it just for SWR. And it is the cheapest you can get on the market for an antenna analyzer, and quite a good one at that. Over here, you see the USB-C port. This is both for charging that battery and also reading out the contents and putting them on a display. There's your on-off switch, and here's a selector button. You can also select on the screen with your finger or with like a stylus that you might use for your iPhone. And when it's all connected up, here's what it looks like. You're going to need to get this. I believe this comes with the R&L one. These are SMA connectors, and your antenna is like a PL259, so it's got a connector for that. And then here's the going to the computer. Now this is your normal screen when you're working with the Nano VNA, but you don't have to do anything with this screen. Just do it on the computer. Now here's where you want to go to get the software. nanovna.com/?page_ID=90. And it brings you this page here. Let's just walk through this page here. This talks about things you can do with Nano VNA Saver software, and here is a picture of the many things that are available. You can do anything on here that you can do on the Nano VNA itself. And down here at the bottom is where to download this. You go to that website, and when you go to that website, you get this. Now, this is what you want to download for Windows. This is also something that can be used on Linux. Okay, so you've got Linux or the Windows software. This is very important. Okay, listen very, very carefully. The exe file on here is the actual executable. It is not an installer. There is no installer with this. You download the executable. You can put it right on your desktop if you want. And you click on that and poof, everything works. Now, one thing you should do before you go into this and set it up is discover which COM port it is that it's working off of. This one says USB serial device COM4. So we're going to use COM4. Yes, I know you're connected to USB, but to the computer it acts like a COM port, as is so often the case. Now, the first thing that comes up may scare you, and it's going to be this DOS screen. And it's just going to give the version number, the copyright dates, and so on, and the fact that they don't warrant it for anything. And then in a moment after that appears, this screen appears. This is the actual Nano VNA saver, and that's the version for the one I have right now. Okay, here is where you set your parameters. Here in the screen is where you get your results. First thing you do is set this down here to the correct COM port, and this is important, click Connect to Device. If it's the wrong COM port, it will object. So you will get the correct COM port here. Now, this is what happens when you open it up, and then up here it'll put some numbers, and you hit Sweep Settings, you'll get this. This will sweep the entire range of the device from 50 kilohertz to 900 megahertz. So this screen's kind of meaningless. It will give you only about 100 points. You can set it for more points if you wish. Now, I want you to notice up here in the corner where it says Sweep Control, you want to set this for what you're actually going to use. So let's look at something very common. Here I'm going to set it to look at the 40 meter band. I'm going to start at 6.5 megahertz, stop at 7.8 megahertz. So I'm half a megahertz either side of the band. And then I'm going to click Sweep. After I click Sweep, here is what I get. This is the SWR, or S11. Is the VSWR, voltage standing wave ratio, which is the same as the standing wave ratio. The standing wave ratio is a voltage thing, not a power thing. This particular antenna, you can see, is trimmed too short. It needs to be lengthened a little bit to pull it back into the band. Now, notice also that you have the ability in here to move markers around, so you can have 3 different markers showing things that you want to pay particular attention to, like if you want to calculate the bandwidth or whatever. By the way, this is 3 to 1 or less across the band. You could probably use this antenna with your internal tuner, although I think I'd try to lengthen the antenna a bit with equal amounts on both sides. Now, I want you to notice down here, this very bottom left-hand corner, display setup. This is the display setup right here. Okay, and you've got all kinds of things you can do. Now, the displayed charts at this moment are S11, which is VSWR, or SWR, and there are none for these others. Now, I must tell you, there are a million things that you can set this up to do. Anything that the Nano VNA can do. Now, as one last chart here, I want to show you when I'm using a different antenna I have, which is the Step IR Big IR antenna, and I've got it tuned up for the 40 meter band. Now, note the way that the Step IR works is it puts a copper tape up a tube to be the exact length of what it should be for a vertical. So it's a full-size vertical, and it's got plenty of ground radials around it too. The antenna controller is officially set for 7.210, and we notice here that the SWR is actually at about 7.163, is the lowest SWR, which is 1.493. Now you say, why is it a little bit so high? Well, if you look up here, you can see the impedance of it. It has a slight reactive components to the impedance, and the basic impedance is 62.4 Okay, 62.4 plus J18.8, I'm sorry, minus J18.8, which gives you a parallel resistance of about 68 ohms, because that's different from 50 ohms. So that means that the SWR is going to be a little bit different. You can tune the remainder out of this and bring it down to 1:1 using the tuner in your radio, which will work very well. So those are the charts. So there you have it. We've taken a closer look at the NanoVNA Saver software, which allows you to do everything you would do with the NanoVNA, except you can do it on a computer screen in full glory, and it works fine with the 4K display like I have. And you can do any function that the NanoVNA will do. And you can have several plots at the same time. It will, of course, do Smith charts and all kinds of other things there, depending on what you want to measure. Now, note that the NanoVNA will measure S11 and S21, okay? That's skipping 2 of the scattering parameters. S here stands for scattering. This is part of vector network analysis. A vector, in this case, would mean complex numbers, both the imaginary and the real parts, okay? And the network can be any kind of network that you want to analyze. It could be a low-pass filter, high-pass filter, certain kinds of amplifiers, any kind of a linear circuit that's built of resistors, capacitors, and inductors. So you can measure chokes, you can measure traps, you can measure all kinds of things with this right here. It's an amazing little device. So there you have it. We've taken a look at this. I urge you to join the American Radio Relay League. I know it seems a little expensive, but if you compare the price of joining the league to the price of filling a tank of gas, they're about equal. And I've shown pictures a number of times where the price of filling a tank with gas on my Jeep is greater than the cost of an annual membership in the ARRL. You really should join. So there you have it. And until we next meet, 73.